Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Ryan. I'm Berto Willis, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Peggy Lopez is in the house. Welcome aboard. May Wood is in the house. E2247 is in the house. And of course, we've got Yvette Avery Errod, our beautiful union activist in the house. Alistair Waters. It's hot in our part of the world, Alistair. It's hot. It's hot. It's hot. Bridge MCP, how you doing, my dear, beautiful Bridge? Of course, with us as well, AVQ, the one and only Senor Rodnin. How are you doing today? I see that you want something on the screen. We'll get that on the screen for you a little later, my dear, beautiful Bridge. Let's go ahead and start off with El Senor Miguel Rodnin, que dice, DW News, a solar storm is coming. Should we be worried? Short answer, no. The intensity of the solar storm are classified into 5 levels by the U.S.-based National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. The G stands for the geomagnetic effects triggered by the plasma cloud. Level 5 corresponds to a very strong effect, while level 1 corresponds to a minor effect. The current solar storm is classified as a G1. Thank God. Texas couldn't handle that with the grid right now. So muchísimas gracias. I'm glad that is the case. Thanks for finding that out. Rudnin, only a few will register if as luminous natural spectacle. Kind of glad we're not going to be experiencing the big one today. Still was looking forward to possibly seeing some northern lights later tonight. Doesn't the G1 still give you northern lights? I thought it would, but I don't know. Common dreams, no more time to lose. Biden rebuked for pushing off climate emergency declaration. Let's see. Watch said a statement. In the midst of shocking and unprecedented heat waves, wildfire, and drought in America, Europe, and across the globe, President Biden has failed to meaningfully act on climate. Evidence from the last decade clearly shows that promoting cleaner energy while still advancing new fossil fuel projects will not reduce climate pollution. The science is clear. To maintain reasonable hope of achieving a livable planet for future generations, we must halt new fossil fuel development now. Biden must declare a climate emergency, ban crude oil exports, and halt new fossil fuel infrastructure, including pipelines and export terminals. The clock is rapidly ticking towards the inevitable, irreversible climate catastrophe. You know, you can easily get depressed about this. I don't get depressed. I get enlightened about what's occurring with the climate. I want you guys to postulate this. And I hate to put it this way. As long as people believe they are vested, as long as people think the economic system as it functions today is okay, we are going to have a hell of a time trying to get folks to know they have to sacrifice temporarily to go to green energy, because you're going to have all the people talking all kind of crap. Hey, natural gas is cheap. Think about what you're costing the average American citizen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have to first change the mindset of the masses, not from the top down, but from the bottom up. We have to first address number one in the masses, that they are worthy, that they can be intelligent, that they are deserving, first of all. And the second thing you have to do is knock down the belief that billionaires are worth anything. Let me tell you why I'm saying these things. This is very important. Because as long as people feel that only the billionaire and the millionaire and the capitalist can save them, when you have a Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, when you have a Ilhan Omar, when you have a Bernie Sanders, when you have anybody out there, and by the way, Biden says the nice climate change words, but he's not really into climate change per se. I mean, he says the nice words about a lot of progressive things, but that's not where he's at. He's a moderate. He's a neoliberal. We got him to do a lot of stuff, likely because he knew a lot of it would get blocked. But here's the deal. We, the people of the United States, we have to let folks understand that they are worthy, and that they are more worthy than those billionaires out there that's working on their back, and that we are not dependent on them. And in that regards, what we have to have is a government that works a government not owned by the plutocracy who can properly create policies that ensure that as we fix the climate, that these criminals with the way, they make gas cheap enough for you to use, not because gas is cheap, but because they throw the benzene away, they throw the natural gas up in the air and all of that. That's the reason why gas and all of that is cheaper here in the United States and even elsewhere, right? Because we don't bear the cost of it for real, right? So we have to make sure. Remember, a lot of times when I talk about taking back from the rich what was stolen from us, I really mean that. I really mean that the wealth that they have is stolen wealth. When you use oil or you use other fossil fuels that pollute systems that create illnesses in people, you are subsidizing those wealthy people who are making tons of money by selling you cheap gas and making a profit on the cheap gas, but then you have to pay for your health care that created the emphysema and all these other things. We have to find a way, and I am not necessarily I have to learn how to communicate that as well without scaring people, right? But we have to show people that they've been had. They have been taken advantage of, that they are subsidizing the wealthy. It's not the other way around. When that wealthy person donates to a charity, they feel great. Don't donate to the damn charity. Clean up your mess. Stop infecting people, right? Stop giving them emphysema. Stop giving them all these diseases that who pay for again? They do. So we subsidize the oil companies. We have to change the narrative, my brothers and sisters. We have to assert our worth. Last one from Michael Rudnin. WFFT, Fort Wayne, local news. Georgia prosecutor says all 16 fake Trump electors are targeted in criminal probe. I saw that. Court documents find late Tuesday reveal Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis has informed all 16 of the individuals who signed on unofficial electoral certificate that was ultimately sent to the National Archives in the 2020. They may be indicted in the probe, and they should be. They are criminals. They falsified records. That's what they did. And criminals go to jail for doing that. The significant development indicates prosecutors are moving closer to possible criminal charges against those involved in the effort. It also suggests the probe may be drawing close to Trump himself. I'm always wondering which state will slap the cuffs on Trump first. It'll be Georgia. Georgia on my mind. Whether my own New York former numerous financial crimes, Washington, D.C. for Washington 6 insurrection. The insurrection not going anywhere with D.C. with the current attorney general that we got. Anyway, working down the list. The stream bot is working. I did nothing. It just started working on its own. Thank you, Restream.io, for fixing the mess that you made all my people to. Egbert, what the hell is wrong with you? You're not answering my questions. I know. I should actually, if I don't see all the people inside of the list and I just see a Facebook, I should do something about it. My bad. Okay. Continuing, we have Bridge MCP says, hey all, a bipartisan Senate group announces a deal on forming the Electoral Count Act update July 2022. How would the law change? As the law exists now, only one member of the House, one member of the Senate are needed to challenge any state's electors. The updated language would raise the threshold, shifting the requirements to 20% of the members of each chamber. The proposal would also enact a few measures aimed at ensuring that Congress can identify a single conclusive slate of electors from the state, according to the fact sheet. The provisions include identifying each state's governor unless otherwise specified in the law's constitution of a state effects in election day, as responsible for submitting a certificate of ascertainment, identifying the state electors, and requiring Congress to defer to the states of electors submitted by state executive pursuant to judgment of state or federal courts. Perfecto. Thank you for that, Bridge MCP. By the way, Alistair, I did hear from Keaton. She left a message yesterday in one of our YouTube messages. I check the YouTube messages that people leave, etc. So she did leave a message here. So Allison may not be with us right here, but Allison is still with us. Okay, welcome aboard, el señor Roberto Luis. ¿Cómo estás, mi hermano? Lee Grant is also in the house. Welcome, brother Lee Grant. All right, continuing. Eric Hayes. I think Bridge wanted me to put something on the screen. Let me put that on the screen real quickly. All right, here is Bridge's piece for the screen. I haven't seen it, but since she's one of our trusted members, I just throw it up there. Let me put it on the screen for you. It says, please, I just want health care. It puts the Biden on its skin, or else it gives Trump, else it gets the Trump again. DNC, look, progressives want health care now. DNC, it puts the Biden on its skin, or else it, look, I hear you, girl. I hear you. I think I understand what that means, right? Progressives absolutely want DNCs, and everybody wants health care, but, I'll leave that there for now. Let's continue welcoming our folks into the fold. Eric Hayes says, hi, all. Questions we always hear on this show. Debt is great. We have increased deficit over the last several years in a low to no interest rate environment thanks to the Fed. Well, now we are at higher interest rates of people paying higher interest rate as well as the government. The government will now pay more interest too, so the debt isn't good. Oh my God. You're an accountant. Let's go ahead and understand debt. Debt is actually, increasing inflation, believe it or not, is generally fairly good for the average American at a good rate, and not for the lender. Because as inflation goes up, the relative debt goes down without changing. The relative cost, the relative debt goes down. Here's some issues now. When it comes to America borrowing, let's say the United States government borrowing money and having to pay a higher interest rate, that is by choice, okay? We decide to have these interest rates by choice because we're trying to regulate the amount of money in the environment. But we don't have to pay a penny in interest rates if we don't want to. Oh, Egberta, you are so dumb. You just don't understand accounting. Unfortunately, I do. Unfortunately, the corporatists are making a bet that you don't. And generally speaking, their bet is correct. Okay? I'm not going to go into how money is created today. I'm not going to go into relative inflation and how it's, why we didn't have inflation back in the day. When we were exploding the deficits after the collapse in 2008, we flooded the system with money and we had no inflation. There are a lot of reasons and technicalities in a capitalist society. By the way, notice I'm talking within a capitalist economy. An economy does not have to follow an entirely capitalist domain or a capitalist domain at all. I believe in a free enterprise domain with strong government controls where we'll have more control over the system. All these systems are man-made and designed to keep a particular few wealthy. From its inception, it was that when our economic system came to pass, the guys who run the thing, the plutocrats of the day said, how can we design a system to keep us in the position that we are in? And that's what it's all about. We can have an entire class on that some other time, but suffice it for me to tell you that the capitalist economy, or how our economy works with supply and demand, is not necessarily the only type of economic system one can have. We are vested in that economic system, and that's why we keep it that way. Now, Eric, I would hope that you'd continue listening to our show and open your realm, open your horizons. But suffice it to say, we can make debt be as painful or not as painful to the federal government as we want it to be, because we are a sovereign country with a sovereign currency. That's the ability we have. And when it comes to why we have inflation because there's money people have money, and the plutocrats, because of the way our system work again, they said, you have money, we will take your money because If you want gasoline, I know you have more money. I'll raise the price of gasoline. There are economic systems that we could create to prevent them from doing that. There's no shortage. There's enough gasoline to go around. That's why prices are falling even in the summer. Prices are falling on gasoline because there was never, ever, ever, ever a shortage. But you've been played. And you accept being played by just saying, oh, I'm just going to call what they're saying the word, that they tell you things and you just listen to mainstream media and you believe it because they say it. Who is that crazy guy with I support progressive media t-shirt on telling me all these things that doesn't seem to compute with what I hear on the mainstream media? Hey, there's something that all of us have on this show. It's called common sense, and all of us know basic math. And guess what? An economic system, basic math is all you need, right? When we design when we design printers and when we design calculators and all of that, we have to use differential equations. I used to hate differential equation, calculus, and all these different scenarios we got to use. But for the basic economic system that says, I have a product to sell and you have money to buy, and that's all we're talking about. We're not talking about the design of these systems that require very high technical skills, learning differential equations and learning electronics and learning physics and all of that. That's not needed. That kind of knowledge isn't needed for business administration. That kind of knowledge isn't needed for the capitalist system. The capitalist system abused those who created this. What I'm trying to tell you is you don't look at the capitalist and say, oh, they are so great. Or you don't look up at the business person, oh, they are so great. The ones that are great are teachers who teach your kids. The inventors, the people who know differential equations and physics and chemistry and electronics. You want to not worship them, but if you want to give people kudos, give them. The people who then trade the stuff are the ones who make more money. The guy who invented this made a hell of a lot less money than the person who is selling this. There's something wrong with an economic system that works that way. We'll talk another time on that issue. Let's continue, but I hope you understand what I'm saying, Eric Hayes, because it's important. Paul Fleming says, I am checking in. Welcome, Paul. Eric Hayes says, regulators at their best affecting shortages and again, blaming others. Again, I'm not going to even finish reading that because that is entirely nonsense, what you just said there. Nonsense. And it was great for me. I'm playing a piece by Bernie today, but it was great to listen to Bernie say something I've been saying over and over again. The private sector created the problems, and then they're begging government to give them welfare to fix the problem they created to make profits for a few. I'm going to play Bernie in a minute. In fact, I need to get playing Bernie right now, but let me see if I have any quick things I need to answer real quick in the thing. Let's see. Peggy Lopez says, and we have to get money from the rich to cover the cost of the poor and middle class, making the changes to sustainable. Yes, because they're the ones who cause the problem anyway. Egberto, do you drive a fossil fuel car? Yes, I do. I can't afford a electric car right now. I can't afford a new car right now. Okay, period. Bridge MCP says, Alistair Waters, hard to breathe. I hear you, girl. I need to get Yvette Avery Harris says, I would be proud if we took care of him here in Georgia. I hear you, girlfriend. I hear you. Lee Grant says, rest in peace, Ivana. Rest in peace, Ivana. Let's see. Norman Reynolds is in the house. He says, hola y saludos. Roberto Lewis in the house. Hola, hermano. Rodnan says, didn't watch Silence of the Lamb. I watched Silence of the Lamb years ago. I don't remember what it's about, though. Breed says, I know the word Egberto Willis just saying it's not enough. All right, let's see. Paul Fleming says, I have to disagree with you on Biden and climate change. If Congress can't get things done, he will sign into executive law climate change for the good of the planet. Paul, look, I hope you are right, Paul. You know, there are a lot of times I am begging, I wish that I'm wrong. I so wish that I'm wrong. Eric A. says, Manchin says he will work healthcare. BS. Manchin will destroy healthcare. Paul, like he destroys everything else. Bridge says Eric Manchin is a liar. Exactly. Eric Hayes says, please tell us your Swami mentality on debt and paying interest. We'll talk about it another time because I got to get a Bernie's thing out and it's longer than normal. Let's see what else we got. Lee Grant said, sound like a neo-Marxist redistribution of assets and earnings imposed. No, it's not neo-Marxist. What I'm doing is recovering that which was stolen. Thank you. Michael Rodden says, Berto, the U.S. dropped $29 trillion into the economy during the 2008 financial sector bailout, yet the inflation rate in 2009 was 0.36%. Imagine that, putting so much money into the system and the inflation rate goes negative. Weird. No, it's not weird. Again, the real cause of real inflation is real, but it's only real if there are legitimate shortages. The problem is the only real shortages we have are in things like computer chips because of the malign that we had in China and Taiwan. So therefore, a lot of things dependent on chips that because of just-in-time inventory, we don't have a stockpile of. Those things are in short supply. But things that are there for all of us to use, they're not in short supply. These capitalists are just raising the prices. You know why? Because you have some extra dollars in the bank and because they can. I wish more Americans would just look these things up on their own. Follow the supply chain for the meat that you're eating. Follow the supply chain for all the products that you buy in the grocery store. There are some of them that should actually drop in price. In fact, oil should have dropped in price when the war started. That sounds funny. That doesn't sound right. We put an embargo on Russian oil. Yes, we did. But we putting an embargo on Russian oil means nothing if China and India are going to buy it all up at a discount. And if they're buying it up at a discount, it means there's oil elsewhere on the market that should be going at a discount. And while they falsely elevated the price to $120 a barrel and higher, it came crashing down because eventually they have to store the bought oil. That's why a couple of days ago, it dropped to $96 a barrel. That's why even in the middle of the summer where people should be driving a lot, notice that the gas prices fell by more than 10%. It's a racket. They are thieves. They are thugs. And the thing about it is they're doing it legally. We look at somebody that goes into a 7-Eleven and steal a Coke or steal a pack of gum, 96 cents, $1.20. We look at them as those thugs, those criminals, get a job, work. And those capitalists, the executives that say, Biden gave those Americans a stimulus. We can actually raise the price of gas. And since they must buy gas, they'll have to give us their money. And then they go on CNBC and says, we are making record profits. Like if that profit was something they made. That is something they stole. But because of the way we see things, because of the way they taught us to see things, we don't see the truth. I am begging you, I am imploring you not to buy the crap you see when these capitalists and these business people come and say, if we have a supply chain problem. Bull. All these problems they created and they profit further from the problem they created. Let's give an example. So the chips, they don't have enough chips and they have to ration the chips. When you ration the chips, justifiably the prices go up. But when the prices go up, the price of that chip that they are holding didn't change in price. So that increased price is just because there's demand. And that means that increased price go into the pocket of the few. The pockets of the few. So they screwed the system of the supply chain problem by having just-in-time inventory and not preparing for catastrophe, pandemics and all of that. They created the problem. And then when we have to pay more, they profit from us paying more. People, that's a racket. I mean, they make a petty thief look like an angel. And we take it. And then you have those on the right that are going to fight me. You Marxists, you socialists, you want to take something that's not yours. Why don't you get on the case of the people that are ripping you off? Don't call me a Marxist. Call the thugs the thieves that they are. That's all. Okay, I tell you what. Let me play Bernie, and then I will be back. I promise you, my dear beautiful people. Check this out. Bernie went on the floor of the Senate and he let the chip companies have it. I mean, these are guys that make billions and billions of dollars. They ship our jobs overseas. They go ahead and take all our intellect that was created by universities and other public entities, package it up, and just a few make a big profit off of it. And then they come begging for money. Oh, you want us to come back and build in the United States? Help us build. Really?
I recently came across a very, very interesting interview that the CEO of Intel, Mr. Pat Gelsinger, did last Friday on CNBC's Squawk Box. And I think that interview that he did tells us everything that we want to know about the American oligarchy, about corporate arrogance, and the state of American politics. And this is what Mr. Gelsinger said last Friday, and I quote, Mr. Gelsinger, head of Intel, quote, "My message to congressional leaders is, hey, if I'm not done with the job, I don't get to go home. Neither should you." He's talking to Congress. "Do not go home for August recess until you have passed the CHIPS Act, because I and others in the industry will make investment decisions. And do you want those investments in the U.S., or are we simply not competitive enough to do them here, and we need to go to Europe or Asia for those? Get the job done. Do not go home for August recess without getting these bills passed." End of quote. That's Pat Gelsinger, head of Intel, last Friday. In other words, Mr. President, the CEO of a major corporation, which made nearly $20 billion in profits last year, and a CEO who received a $179 million compensation package, is saying to Congress that if you don't give my industry, the microchip industry, $76 billion, and my company, it is estimated, some $20 or $30 billion, that despite their profound love for our country and their respect for American workers and their understanding of the needs of the U.S. military and the healthcare industry, despite all of that, in order to make more profits, they are prepared to go to Europe and Asia. Now, Mr. President, I am thankfully not a lawyer, but that sure sounds like extortion to me. What Mr. Gelsinger is saying is that if you don't give the industry a blank check, here's $76 billion, and they want more, by the way, despite the needs of the military for advanced microchips, and we hear that from the military, despite the needs of the medical industry for advanced microchips, despite the entire needs of the American economy for advanced microchips, the industry is threatening to abandon this country and move abroad. Patriotic people, no doubt, clearly lovers of America. Mr. Gelsinger says we should stay in session, if necessary, through August in order to pass his legislation. Well, I think we might want to stay in session through August, but not necessarily to pass his legislation. Over the last 20 years, the microchip industry has shut down over 780 manufacturing plants in the United States and eliminated 150,000 American jobs while moving most of its production overseas. And they did that, by the way, after receiving $9.5 billion in government subsidies and loans. In other words, we have the absurd situation where we have a crisis that is caused precisely by the people we are now attempting to bail out. So as a reward for their bad behavior, for shutting down 780 manufacturing establishments in America, they come back and say, oh, we have a crisis in America. We need your help. So they want us to pay to undo the damage they caused. Well, that may make sense to someone, but not to me. In total, Mr. President, it has been estimated that 5 major semiconductor companies will receive the lion's share of this technology handout. Those companies are Intel, Texas Instruments, Micron Technology, Global Foundries, and Samsung. These 5 companies made $70 billion in profit last year. The company that will likely benefit the most from this taxpayer assistance is Mr. Gelsinger's company, Intel. Now, I have nothing against Intel, and I wish them the best, but Intel is not a poor company. Last year, Intel made nearly $20 billion in profit. During the pandemic, Intel had enough money to spend $16.6 billion, not on research and development, not on building new plants, but on buying back its own stock to reward its executives and wealthy shareholders. Over the past 20 years, Intel has spent over $100 million on lobbying and campaign contributions. Say $100 million may seem like a lot of money, but if you're about to get $20 billion from the taxpayers of America, that is a very modest investment. And meanwhile, while they spent $100 million on lobbying and campaign contributions, they were shipping thousands of jobs to China and other low-income countries. Does this really sound like a company that needs a taxpayer handout? Another company that would receive taxpayer assistance under this legislation is Texas Instruments. Last year, Texas Instruments made $7.8 billion in profits. In 2020, the company spent $2.5 billion buying back its own stock. Meanwhile, other companies that will receive taxpayer support are the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. And by the way, you would be shocked to know that the largest shareholder of the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company is, well, you guess it's the government of Taiwan. And so we'd be giving money, I guess, directly to the government of Taiwan. And on it goes. Mr. President, I should be clear in stating that I do believe in industrial policy. I think that at times it is absolutely appropriate for the government to sit down with the private sector and say, look, we have needs and we want to work with you to solve those needs. You have a right to make a fair profit. We have the right to see the needs of the American people addressed. We need a partnership. To me, industrial policy means cooperation between the government and the private sector, cooperation. It does not mean the government providing massive amounts of corporate welfare to profitable corporations without getting anything in return. So the question is, will the United States government develop an industrial policy that benefits all of our society, or will we continue to have an industrial policy that benefits the wealthy, the powerful, their lobbyists, and the campaign contributors? 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, and I quote, "The problem is that we all too often have socialism for the rich and rugged free enterprise capitalism for the poor," end of quote. I'm afraid that what Dr. King said 54 years ago was accurate back then, and it is even more accurate today. So, Mr. President, the Senate has an important decision to make, and that is, do we simply provide a blank check, or do we put some restrictions on that money? And that is why I will be offering an amendment which does that. It seems to me that if private companies are going to benefit from generous taxpayer subsidies, the financial gains made by these companies must be shared with the American people, not just wealthy shareholders. In other words, if microchip companies make a profit as a direct result of these federal grants, the taxpayers of this country have a right to get a reasonable return on that investment. Further, if microchip companies receive taxpayer assistance, they must agree that they will not buy back their own stock, outsource American jobs overseas, repeal existing collective bargaining agreements, and must remain neutral in any union organizing effort. This is not a radical idea. All of these conditions were imposed on companies that received taxpayer assistance during the pandemic and passed the Senate with the CARES Act by a vote of 96-0. And that is why I will be filing an amendment to impose these conditions to this legislation. Now, I understand, Mr. President, that some language has been inserted into this bill that would prohibit microchip companies from using these grants to buy back their own stock. But let us be clear. This language is totally meaningless. Under this legislation, companies will still be able to use the enormous profits that they are making on stock buybacks. Bottom line, let us rebuild the U.S. microchip industry, but let us do it in a way that benefits all of our people, not just a handful of wealthy, profitable, and powerful corporations.
Well, Bernie talked about something or specified something that we talk about over and over and over ad nauseum here at Politics Done Right. And that is, you guys created the problem, and now when it's time to solve it, you come begging for the American people to solve it for you, and then you repeat over and over again. So we're not going to have that with the CHIPS Act. We're not going to have that with the semiconductor companies if Bernie has his way and those who support him have their way. In other words, all right, we'll give you the $76 billion, but you can't buy back stocks. And we don't mean you can't use any of the $76 billion to buy back stock. We mean you can't buy back stock because money is fungible. Also, you can't mess with unions if they're trying to unionize the companies so that they can also take advantage of the spoils. And by the way, you can't ship those jobs overseas created with our money at all. It's the people's money. They deserve the jobs here. And the return on that investment that we are giving you, some of that comes right back into the coffers of the United States. You know what, folks? We should have done every time the government gives subsidies to private companies, they should give subsidies as a percentage of the share value so that the government can make a profit on all the monies they give to these thieving corporations, because they take our money and then they decide we'll fire them. Always ask a capitalist this: how comes when the government invests in your company, they get no return? If a bank invests in your company, they get interest. If a venture capitalist company invests in your company, they get stock options. Why is it that the government who's investing in your company doesn't get the same as well? Folks, we have to wake up to the fraud. We have to wake up to the fraud that is our economic system and how it is in bed. It's conniving. It is in a corrupted way, acting with our own government, and we need to take government and make sure to do that which is right. Absolutely so, folks. Thank you for reminding me. Yesterday I was talking to Bridge, and she came up with a great idea that I don't know why I haven't really done it before, but here's the deal. First of all, I am going to try, when I'm about to interview somebody that's not going to be live, meaning remote, to let you guys know in advance the person that I'm going to interview, and so that you guys can post some questions to info@politicsdoneright.com. In other words, hey, Egberto asked the person that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That is for interviews that I'm able to, schedule ahead of time. Also, if there is somebody that you want me to interview, go ahead and set it up, get the contact information. Here's the deal. I need your help there, because I have my mailbox, like right now I got like 600 stuff to go through on the mailbox. I need your help. If you want somebody, you said this person has great information, I want you to interview this person. Set it up. Go ahead and, pass it by me. Let me see if it's something that I think fits our format. And then pass it by me and we'll go ahead and get it done. I mean, a few have done that already. Charlie Lindahl. How you doing, Charlie? Charlie has set up a few interviews before. So, let's go ahead and do that sort of thing. Again, this is an integrated system. Get another mail just for this. That may be a good idea, Breach. Let me work on that. It's very easy for me to get another email address. So let me think about a name to give it. Give me a name. Give me a name to give that new mailbox. Something at politicsandright.com. Give me a name, folks. Give me a name. What are we going to call it? Interviews at politicsandright.com? I don't know. You guys give me a name. Anyhow, Lee Grant, I'm not obsessed with Trump at all. In fact, the reality is I feel a bit sorry for Trump. Anybody who lives in his skin has to feel devastated, really. A person that cannot accept that people don't want you, then it is sad, right? It is sad. All right, let's see what else we got here. Lee Grant says leftists need to free themselves from Trump. No, come on. Again, we don't. It's not about Trump, brother. It's not about Trump. I like what Bridge says. She loves Eric like a fungus. Huh. But you know what, Bridge? I know you like a lot of, fungus that you eat, especially the ones that kind of meaty. Like, it's amazing. I just thought about mushrooms. Shiitake mushrooms, right? I like shiitake mushrooms. So I guess hey, Hayes, that means she genuinely likes you. Because all of us like a good, well-cooked mushroom, Eric Hayes. All right, continuing with the program. Breaches, Eric, let me get to somebody else here. Para ver. Charlie Lendal says, why does it matter if Bernie has been in business or not? There's an important statement there, Charlie, and let me tell you what I mean by that. A lot of folks from the right in our house, in all of our house, this house belongs to the right and the left. A lot of folks in here, they think that because of what I say, somehow I am anti-business. I am not in the least anti-business. I've been in business for a very long time. I've been very successful in business for a very long time. If you doubt it, just ask those people who know me and know my business. Lou is in the house. Norman is in the house, etc. I gave it up. But I did very well at it. I gave it up. I'm paying a price for it now, but I gave it up. What I'm trying to say, we love business. Okay? I don't want folks to give up on business. We want equitable business. And we also don't want business that take advantage of people. That's all. Bernie wrote a book and he made money from writing his book. That's great. Bill Gates took somebody's software, made a few modifications, licensed it to IBM, and then from that became a billionaire. There's a difference. The guy whose intellect got into MS-DOS, and by the way, MS-DOS wasn't the best piece of software. Ask Charlie. Charlie and I remember the CPM days and all those days with the Osborne and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't all that good. I had the code of not the MS-DOS of the BOS, but of MS-DOS as well. I remember having to make all those changes to MS-DOS, look for the in-DOS flag and check the in-DOS flag if somebody's there. And I wrote a multitasking system on top of MS-DOS called MTask. Look it up. Look up Willie's Computer Software Company, space MTask, MTASK. That's my product. It allowed DOS to multitask. Big companies bought that stuff in galore. Just letting you know. A lot of times you say something and be like, oh, you're just talking BS. Look it up. MTask, Willie's Computer Software. You can see that product that made DOS multitask. Anyhow, continuing. What else did I want to say before I go? I forgot Charlie. Charlie talks about business. We want people in business. We want those people who create the means of production, the way they create things, to prosper from what they created. Capitalism doesn't do that. Capitalism say, okay, you create it and buy, and then they'll market and build up on it, and others would get rich who don't have a clue of what you did. That's all. All right, let's see. You did MTask? Yeah, I created MTask. It's a multitasker for MS-DOS, yeah. Egberto and Al Gore invented the internet. No, I didn't invent the internet. But again, all you have to do is go look it up. Like I said, I don't just blow smoke. Look it up. MTask Willie's Computer Software Company, and you should see that product all over the place. All right, let's continue. There you go. There you go. Look who found it. Look who found it. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's see what else we got here. I need to do my ask. I'm not going to play the stuff for the book. Let me just go ahead and put the things in there. But please, folks, if you like what we do here, if you believe in what we do here, I ask you so kindly to support us. So please go to, if you're on YouTube right now, just hit the join button. Get us a cup of coffee a day, a couple of cups of coffee, not a day, a month, if you will. Just click the join button. Become a part of our of supporting what we do. Alternatively, you can go ahead and click this link, politicsandright.com/PayPal to support us. You can go to politicsandright.patreon to support us on Patreon. I need more Patreon support right now. Here is the link to, where is the link to politicsandright.com Patreon? There we go. politicsandright.com/Patreon is another way to support us. You can also, if you're not on YouTube or you're on another platform, you can go to politicsandright.com/YouTube to support us on the YouTube platform. We also have a lot of new products in our store. Please consider, AVQ, thank you for being here. I had some more stuff, but you'll listen to it on the podcast, on the vlogcast, that is. Please consider going to our store. We have a lot of new products in the store. That is at politicsandright.com/store, politicsandright.com/store. I mean, Bridge MCP designed quite a few of our t-shirts and our cups. Check them out. You can get our books. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, this book right here. You can get our other book, How to Make America Utopia, or what's this one again? It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors. You can get all those books at, where again? politicsandright.com/books, politicsandright.com/books. And remember, I'm going to Pittsburgh, and I need that when the heat dies, I will post pic of new t-shirt. Thank you, Bridge. I was talking to Bridge yesterday. She's like, it's too damn hot. And she's in New York. If you want to feel heat, Bridge, come on down to Texas. All right. Anyway, support us at our GoFundMe for our trip to Pittsburgh. We got one of the coveted spots on Radio Row. Your politics done right at the largest progressive convention. We're going to have Ilhan Omar and all of them out there. You know, I'm going to try to get to Ilhan Omar. I haven't gotten to her publicist yet. But all the big time, the progressives are going to be there. And of course, the activists, etc. You can support us at politicsandright.com/netroots. That is where our GoFundMe for this is, politicsandright.com/netroots. Maybe the email SBPDR interview question. That's too long. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut it a little bit. I'm going to say PDR interviews. And then, you would probably, yeah, I think, that's probably good. PDR interview questions at politicsandright.com. Okay, I'm going to take out the underscores, though. People kind of get messed up with those underscores. So I'm going to get rid of the underscores, but I like that. Emma Beckers is in the house. Woot, woot. Emma Beckers says, how you doing, Emma? Did I miss anybody today? Let's see. Let me go through, because I hadn't seen Emma before. Let me go through and see if there's anybody that I missed. Robert Lewis says, Egberto, ComDRV business software. He gave it up humbly. I sure did. And you know what? It's still, here's the deal. I never told this part of the story. My stuff is serial comm. I made the serial port do a lot of things that it's not supposed to do. So they could use off-the-shelf equipment, like when Boeing was testing software for the 777, etc. They could use off-the-market hardware, use my software, and we were able to do some magic with the RTS signal for them to test their test equipment, right? But I was about to migrate into Bluetooth, because that was the next serial technology above RS-232. And I had to make the decision, do I go ahead and go to all those conferences like I always did for RS-232 to promote the product? leave me less time to do my blogging, etc., or go cold turkey. Well, I told that part of the story. So no, there was all this product had a lot of growth potential. Just went ahead and let it go. But anyhow, just wanted to let you know that. All right, let's see. Jay Forever, you are in Texas, gives me hope. From California, Jay Forever. Thank you for being here, Jay Forever. Love you, brother. I'm assuming you're a guy. All right. Bridge MCP say, yeah, underscores are a programming thing. However, Egberto Willis PDR people, if we know who is going to be interviewed in advance, we can research the person and come up with questions. And I promise you, Bridge, that your idea I'm going to put into effect. By the way, who else is in the house? I saw him and I just didn't say it. El Señor, where's he? My brother from another mother is in the house too. Where is he? I said Lee Grant already. Bruce Pollard, where is he? Anyway, Bruce, I know you're in the house, so welcome aboard, Señor Pollard. Welcome aboard. I saw you, and you said something about money that I was going to say. Roberto Luis is my hermano de Panama. Bruce is my hermano de Wisconsin. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Any other questions, guys? Or if I missed something, throw it back into the feed so that I can get to it. Let's see. Eric Hayes says, Egberto interview Bob Rehack in Kingwood. Actually, I like Bob. I met Bob. In fact, I supported Bob once when he was running, I think, for the school board. So yeah, Bob Rehack is a good guy. He's working on the flooding in Kingwood and the other areas. So yeah, he's a good guy to interview. You're right about that, Eric. Set it up, Eric. Again, remember what I said? You want me to interview somebody? Set it up. Let's see what else we got here. Anybody else have questions that I need to answer before we go? We're coming close. We got about 4 minutes. Alistair Water says, Jay Forever, we're trying to get everyone in Texas on track with all things progressives. And I'm going to have to redo the doodle in Texas because I got COVID and now I'm recovered. We can set it up again. But it has to be when I get back from New York. And maybe, maybe when it gets cooler because right now it's very, very hot. Let's see what else we got here. All right, folks, I don't have any other videos that can fit in the 2 minutes that's left. So I'd like to ask you guys to throw something into the feed that you want me to talk about in the next 2 minutes. Come on, talk to me in the next 2 minutes. Tell me, Egberto, say this, and I will. Yes, Egberto. Yes. Come on, folks. I'm waiting for a comment. Bree says, Egberto Willis, you're only in New York a short time, right? I come to New York. Here's the deal, Bridge. I leave on the 3rd, take a train from Baltimore to Reinhardt, and I stay in Reinhardt for a day and a half. I take a train back to Baltimore and fly back. So it looks like it's going to be hard for me to find a way to check you out, drive to your place or something, unless you said, Egberto, I'm going to come and visit you at the conference or something. Rhinebeck, you're right, Rhinebeck, or something like that. Lee Grant says, did y'all see AOC in handcuffs with a smile? Yes, I did. And I also saw Ilhan Omar in handcuffs. I'm so proud of those two women. Those two women are our leaders of the future, all in their 30s. I can't wait for them to take over. I can't wait for AOC to run for president. Well, Ilhan Omar can't run because she wasn't born in the United States. But let's see what else we got. Yes, AOC proud, very proud of her. She, even Republicans say that when AOC goes to a meeting, she is the most prepared, knowledgeable person in the meeting. And they told her people not to challenge her because she would wipe the floor with you. She is so prepared. First Amendment from E2247 says, First Amendment living legend, Floyd Abrams, Dominion would have an extremely powerful libel case against him. Statements Trump made and about the company were extraordinary, defamatory, probably false and enormously harmful. Roberto Lewis says, Bridge MCP? Yes. I got to get out of here. I got an interview right now with Andy Schmuckler. That's a series that I'm doing, Make a Better Human. What is it? The series that we're doing called A Better Human. So You guys have seen him 4 times already. We have another interview today. It's a series that we're doing, so that one isn't a lot about questioning or anything like that. But if you guys have questions that in the future, after you see this particular version, you want to ask, I will be here for you. Anyway, I got to get out of here, people. Love you all. Thank you for your support. Please remember to support the program best you can. I need to put the last link out there, which is, I think, support at WCS. Let me go ahead and put that on. Put that last link out there, which has a link to all our links. Okay, support link. All right, here is our main support link, which links to all of those guys. So check that out at the support links. Second link I want to give is my new book that I'm building in chapters at Amazon called Tribulations of an Afro-Caribbean Latin Man. Racism Didn't Stop My Smile, Hope, or Journey Forward. Check it out. As well, let's see what else I got here. Please also remember to support the GoFundMe for the trip to Pittsburgh, politicsdoneright.com/netroots. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.